I have a very important piece of history, and I'm honored to share it with you. I asked my dad's permission before I did because it is his history, not mine. I'm a part of his history, but this is actually his history. So I have two binders, 1 and 2. They are all his letters and correspondence from Vietnam that he sent to his mother, my grandmother. I'm not going to lecture on Vietnam or the history of Vietnam because that's not what I'm doing. I'm sharing his story and what he went through in Vietnam. My dad was born in January of 1949 on a farm in southern Missouri, next to the Current River, part of the Ozarks, and it's absolutely breathtaking if you've never been there. My dad is one of 8 children, and as he was growing up, he attended a one-room schoolhouse next to the river until he completed the 8th grade. After he finished 8th grade, the family was forced to move into town, Winona, Missouri, due to eminent domain in order to help create the Ozark National Scenic Riverways. After they moved into town, he attended high school up until the 10th grade. After the 10th grade, he did move to St. Louis to live with his aunt and work in the city to help make money. When he turned 18, he did his duty and filled out his selective service paperwork as was required during that time. And on April 19, 1969, my dad received his draft notice in the mail. My dad was 19 years old when he was drafted. He started basic training on April 22nd, 1969 in Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. He was assigned to Company A, 2nd Battalion in the 3rd Brigade during basic training. My dad started writing to my grandma, his mom, during basic training, but we're not there yet. He was leaving on June 27th, right after his basic training graduation, and he was going to Fort Lewis, Washington for his AIT, which is Advanced Individual Training. During AIT, my dad did specialized training in mortars, and he was a part of the 11C and Direct Fire Crewman Group. And again, this whole time, my dad is writing to his mom. Before my dad was shipped to Vietnam, he was able to come home and spend some time with his family. When my dad got to Vietnam, he was assigned to the 101st Airborne Division, B Troop, 2nd Squadron, 17th Cavalry. I bring up the 101st because the 101st Airborne was the 3rd United States Army unit to arrive in Vietnam after the war started, and they were the last Army division to leave during Vietnam. My dad's official day of leaving for Vietnam was in September of 1969. He traveled from St. Louis to Travis Air Force Base in Oakland, California, and landed in Ben Hoi Air Force Base in southern Vietnam on the 24th of September. If I mispronounce any cities in Vietnam or anything else, I try my best. My dad's job in Vietnam was an M60 machine gunner. He had to pack 700 rounds and 2 to 4 grenades and also a 45 cal pistol. I want to finish up this video by saying my dad is 70% disabled. That was according to his paperwork from the military. He's still alive. He's 75 years old, and he is very spry and active. Although he is slowing down, he's 75. But what my dad sacrificed is unbelievable. He didn't run. He didn't try to hide from his duty. and he served his country, and I'm very proud of my dad for that. So I asked his permission to share his journey and his letters with you, and he did agree. Actually, his words were, "I don't care." It's not a topic that's talked about very rarely due to the war itself. But I hope that as I share his letters and his journey, it will either help you or maybe help you understand what some of the soldiers lived through and went through as they were a part of this war. So my final thoughts for this video before we start on this journey together is, how did we find these letters? Interesting story. I lived 2 houses down from my grandma growing up, and I was at her house probably 4 to 6 days a week. Loved my grandma. She taught me a lot. But never once did she mention that she had these letters. So my grandma died when I was a senior in high school, and she never told anybody. And so as my grandpa got older and he started giving all of his stuff away, he gave these. My dad was collecting like old jars and old tins, and my grandpa gave my dad this old saltine tin, like old saltine tin, not box tin. And when they opened it up, it had all of his letters in it, and they were in their original envelopes. So my mom, there are 3 of us, and my mom copied these letters. So I have a third of the originals and a third of the copies. That's how these letters came to be. At no time did my grandma ever share that she had these letters.